Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Eating While Broke. I'm your host, Colleen Witt, and today we have very special guest, Chico Bean in the building.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me on your wonderful podcast. This is a brilliant idea. I think this is dope.
Thank you, and thank you for opening up, I would like to say, the 85 South home to me and being so hospitable. I absolutely love everything about the 85 South camp in totality.
Thank you guys so much
for showing me so much love.
Oh man, we try to pride ourselves on being a standard of hospitality over here, to say the least. So I'm glad that you were received in that way.
Yeah, I've been gossiping nonstop, but such amazing gossip behind your back. Like, yo, these guys are incredible. The character, the integrity, everything. Oh my God, it's amazing.
Good.
And your dish, what are you gonna have us eating today?
Beef ravioli by Chef Boyardee.
Yes, this is a real classic. It's funny. I don't think we've ever had it on the show, surprisingly. Which I've had everything you could imagine 100 times over. But I like that you and I are gonna take one for team today, right? We're gonna take baby licks at it.
Yeah, pause. But yeah, we're gonna do what we could do to make sure that the content is what it needs to be for the podcast. We'll say that. It's been a very long time since I've been able to eat anything remotely close to this, but there was a time in my life where this was 5 course for me.
Okay, so I want to make sure to jog your memory. So I want to see you make Chef Boyardee.
Okay.
And I want to take a swing at it. Go on, you take a swing at it too.
Okay. All right. So you just want
I
me
try
to
not
kick
to
it
let
off?
any guest leave without taking a bite of their food.
Okay. All right. So let me. Is this on?
I think I turned the other one on. No, maybe they're both off.
All right.
Where's this heat and sauce? By the way, I accidentally did try Chef Boyardee recently, and I was like, ew. What was I thinking? Because I used to love it.
Yeah, so did I. Ooh, boy, this is.
You got the memories? Is it jogging the memory?
Ooh, boy, see, that's the thing. You got to. It come out. You got to. You hear that sound? Ho, ho, ho. That's what. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Now, see. I don't know if we got any. Let me see what type of flavorings we got over here.
Oh, we add an extra flavor?
Oh, you got to, man.
Okay.
You got to. This is a hood delicacy. You know what I mean? Growing up, I was what was called a latchkey kid. So my mother, would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work since I can remember. So I've been kind of cooking for myself, and this little Italian seasoning right here. Give it a little bit of make it seem like it's Carrabba's or something of that nature.
No, did you come from a 2-parent household?
No, I did not come from a 2-parent household. My father was murdered when I was 2 years old. So it was just my mother. And, because of that, she had to, it's a little different back in the day. We're going black pepper right here. Good and gather. We're going good and gather, black pepper. And then no salt. We try to stay away from the salt. And so the garlic powder, we'll do a little bit of garlic powder on there, just slightly.
Do you cook at home now?
Yes, very much so.
So no private chefs?
No, hell no.
Okay.
That is an expense I refuse to know.
So you're cooking, you're not eating out a lot?
Well, yes, we do eat out a lot because we are out a lot with what we do for a living, you know what I mean? Traveling and just being on the road all the time, it kind of restricts what it is that you can eat because our job don't start till 8 p.m. So by the time we finish working, it's really not much left open. So usually you have to go get something during the day to have for after when you finish. And you know what I mean? It's very, very much cooking when you go home, not when you're on the road. It's very difficult to cook when you're on the road. You have to kind of set yourself up to be able to cook on the road. So
if you weren't eating a broke dish and you were at home currently cooking, you're gonna add water.
A little water, yeah, just to stretch it out a little bit so it won't stick to the bottom of the pan.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see one of them spoons.
You a real chef.
Let me see one of them
You a
spoons
real
right there.
Chef Boyardee cook.
Yeah, right there. We right there. That's
I wasn't even that good. I was just heating it up in the microwave.
Oh no, yeah, no. We got to do it on the stove. That's how you learn. You get that mixed up in there, get all them flavors mixed in there. Got to separate them too, because if you don't separate them, then you'll have one that's cooked on the top, and then you bite into that bottom one, and that bottom one bucket naked. It ain't got no heat on it, so you got to make sure you go in and split them apart, because they come in, you know, they be stuck together. So you got to split them apart right there. There we go.
This is how I know you was broke. Cause you official. So
I didn't. That's the thing. You knew I was broke. I didn't. I thought this was a delicacy because it really had Chef Boyardee on the can.
It wasn't like the knockoff label.
No, listen. We had a lot of that. Well, I can't remember the first time I ever had Frosted Flakes with Tony on the box. I was in college. My Frosted Flakes had a snowman on the box. Frosty Flakes. That's what we grew up eating, the Frosty Flakes with the Y on them. All right, so we're going to let that just do its thing right there. We're going to set this off to the side. And then you know it's getting right when it starts to bubble. You get the little bubble on it, then you cooking with grease.
So take me back to this time.
Whoo, boy, Washington, D.C. Born and raised in Washington, D.C. Grew up in a household with all my family members. At first, I say the first 8-9 years of my life, I lived in a household with my mother, my Aunt Mary, who was like my grandmother. My grandmother passed before I was born too, so she was like the matriarch of the family. 4 uncles, my Uncle Ricky, my Uncle Reggie, you know what I mean, my Uncle Eric, Harold, who was, you know, a cousin, but he was like an Uncle Shell, who was a cousin but was like an aunt. They grew up with my mother, of course, Cousin Dirk, and it was just so many people in the household. So I got to get the influence from all of those different people, from, you know, good, bad, and indifferent.
Were you an only child?
No, I have a little brother.
Okay.
I have a little brother who's 3 years younger than me.
Okay.
But so I grew up there, then we moved into apartment, our first apartment my mother got, and this is where I would say my culinary journey began. And it began with canned ravioli, because it's an easy thing to make. You know, it was very easy for my mother to show us how to make that. It's just, you just put it on the stove, heat it up, you know what I mean, season it to where you want to season it to. It was a certain point where I would stand on a little stool and cook it, because she was always at work. You know, she would have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and catch 3 buses to get to work, you know what I mean, and to go be a custodian. So by the time she got home, it was very rare that she had the energy to do anything but go back to sleep so she can wake up in a couple more hours to go back to work. So for me, this was, you know, me and my little brothers, this was our delicacy.
There was no stepdad in the house, or?
Oh, no. There was, you know, a couple of niggas that stepped in, but they weren't stepdads. They were just doing their thing, you know what I mean? And, you know, that's pretty much the dynamic of how, you know, my mother's relationships worked throughout my life. It was never, she was a very, very, very stern woman, to say the least. And I've learned from, you know, God rest her soul, I've learned that it takes a very special type of man to deal with a woman who is very self-aware and stern and not going to let you just play no games. You couldn't play no games with Wanda Bean. You had to be honest. You had to be forthcoming and forward. And if once she saw that you weren't who you said you were, you wouldn't want to be around her anyway. I hit a bubble.
Do you hit a bubble?
I hit a bubble.
Wow.
That's how you got to know you're moving it around. There we go. But I was fortunate enough to have male influence. I don't want to make it seem like I didn't have any male influence. My uncles and, you know, a lot of the guys I grew up with in my neighborhoods, you know, I was very active as a young man because my mother, you know, had a different sentiment. I say she raised me in reverse, you know, with all the coddling and protection. And, you know, that's my baby. You think that a woman would give a young man whose father was a victim of gun violence and, you know, try to protect me from all of the things the streets of Washington, D.C. had to offer. That wasn't her sentiment. She was like, you know, get out there and do something. You the man of the house. So I've always
You the man of the house?
I was the man of my house early. I had responsibility my whole life. So at the time when I was young, I didn't recognize how, you know, blessed I was to have that responsibility. But in hindsight, I do now, because now I realize that as an adult, a lot of the gentlemen who I grew up with and I was around, who were my peers and you know, older than me, still haven't learned to, you know, take responsibility in the way that I did when I was 9, 10 years old. So as a man, it is, it's really prepared me for, life in ways where I'm able to do things instinctively that most people look at as heroic effort, but for me, it's just what I'm, used to doing.
Okay. But you were saying that she coddled you later on, though?
Oh yeah, as a grown man, for
as
sure.
A grown man.
Yes. Once I became a man and got out here and started to, live my life, and she saw that the lessons and things that she taught me were actually being applied without her presence. That's when she opened up. Like I didn't see my mother. I saw my mother cry. I saw her fight before I saw her cry. Just to put that in perspective. Okay. You know what I mean? But by the time I became a grown man and got out here, she would cry about everything. Was scared the shit out of me. Every little thing. I'm like, but hey, what's all this sensitivity you got going? But yeah, so I would say that, by the time I became a grown man, that open, loving, that's my baby. That's what she gave me.
Okay.
That's what she gave me for sure.
Yeah, dang, I should take some notes. I'm gonna take notes from Bean.
Oh well, thank you.
So
on the ravioli cooking or just life?
Wow.
I mean,
yeah. So now take me to get closer and closer to. I'm trying to get to the road to where you're at today. So at what point does comedy enter the picture?
Comedy enters the picture after I graduated from college in 2008.
After college, not even high school.
No,
wow.
No.
What you? I love how everyone here is like a college graduate. I haven't met anyone.
No, not at all. That was definitely not my perspective in high school. High school, I had a very different vantage point on what I wanted to do with myself.
What did you want to do in high school?
Be in the streets.
You wanted to be in the streets?
Yes.
As in like a dope man?
Yes.
That was a goal.
That was yes, without question. That was that's all I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was be active and be the man in my neighborhood, in my section, and be known in that capacity, because that's what my environment bred, and that's what was normalized where I come from, and my uncle Reggie, God rest his soul, was murdered in 2002. And I said my father was killed when I was 2 years old, but I don't remember. I have no recollection of my father. But my uncle Reggie was like my father. He was probably the closest thing that I had to a father figure in the consistency of his presence and in the things that he showed me how to do as a man. A lot of my characteristics and who I am as a man came from watching and mimicking and just being around him. So when he was killed, it scared me because I knew that my goals and aspirations of wanting to be in the streets, but I thought he was invincible. There's certain people you think it couldn't happen to, and I thought he was one of those people. So when it happened to him, I knew that, I've never been, as much as I've always been good at getting money and being responsible for myself, I knew I wasn't a gorilla, and he was, and he lost his life in the streets. So I've never had a problem with a problem, but I'm also not a aggressive, just I'm not that person. You're not going to do anything to me, but I don't want to do anything to you either.
Yeah.
So that's always been my perspective. So when he lost his life, that's what put me on a trajectory into where I am now. I didn't even want to go to college before then. I didn't know nothing about college. They didn't talk to us about college in DC public schools. They were just trying to get us to graduate before, something happened to you or get you out of there before they realized you were in the 12th grade and only reading on the 4th grade level.
Yeah, exactly, right.
But once I went to college, I went to Winston-Salem State University in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where I still live and reside to this day. I went, matriculated through school, and, I joined a fraternity and did all of the things. I was immersed in the college experience. And, I would host all of the step shows and, the stroll-offs and all of the banquets.
You were hosting them?
Hosting them, yeah.
Okay, so you definitely had sparks of outgoing.
Yeah, I've always been that way. Now, that's one thing I will say has always been present in my life. I've always been public speaking. I did my first public speaking at 4 years old on Frederick Douglass in a competition I was too young to win and won.
Okay.
But, so I've never been afraid to speak in front of people. I've never had stage fright. I've always been the person, whenever they wanted somebody to speak at a certain level and communicate at a certain level, I was always the one that they would come and get. Even throughout my entire schooling, all of that, I've always been that person. My communication is my gift from God. I know that now, but at that point I didn't, but people were able to see that within me. So when I graduated, I went home, and my mother, I had never been to my father's gravesite. So I went to see my mom and told her I was going to see my dad for the first time. And I went to the gravesite, and when I went to the gravesite, they took me to a, older part of the gravesite, and, pointed to the grass and was like, he in this area somewhere. And I was like, ooh, I hope I put these flowers on the right nigga. That was my first initial thought, but in that same vein, I was like, man, whatever he had done in his life didn't garner him enough to have a marker to let the world know that he existed, nor did anybody around him have the capacity or the ability to do so for him either. So at that point, I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm about to do, but I got to do something. I can't be a patch of grass. I gotta be more than that. I have to, leave more of a legacy than he was able to leave before God took him away from here. So I went home, and they gave me a sheet of paper at the gravesite, and I gave it to my mother, and my mother looked at it and immediately started crying. I mean, bawling, crying.
What was on
And
the
she was
sheet
like,
of paper?
he didn't die on this day. They got the day that he died wrong on this day. And I'm just looking like, and mind you, I told you, I saw my mother fight before I saw her cry. So this is like spooky to me. I'm kind of standing there in awe, like, what in the world is going on? But then at that moment, I also recognized in that moment that whatever was inside of that man impacted this woman who I know is a soldier, to where she's still reacting as though this just happened yesterday.
Wow.
So even though I didn't have the ability to be able to physically see this man or know this man, I know this woman. And I know how this woman has displayed my entire life to me, how strong she is. But the sight of this man's death date being wrong took her out of her body and just made her lose it. So that means that whatever's inside of me is what made her feel the way that she feels about this moment right now. So I got something. I don't know what it is, but I'm about to start figuring it out. And my homeboy Jerome, God bless him, was like, man, you should do comedy. You should do comedy. I'm like, man, I like comedy. I'm a fan of comedy, but I ain't never thought about doing no comedy. And he was like, all right, man, well, look, you need to do comedy. I'm telling you. So it was an open mic night at the Greensboro Comedy Zone, which is my home club, every first and second Thursday of the month. I went on the first Thursday, watched everybody bomb. And I was like, well, I can at least do this bad. And then I went back the next week. I did my 4 minutes on stage. That's how much time they gave you at the open mic. I did my 4 minutes. When I got off stage, my feet hit the floor, and I was like, this it? This what I'm supposed to be doing. And from that moment on, I've been telling
Did you do
jokes.
great your first time?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did great, amazing my first time. This was right around the time when Obama was running for president. It was 08.
Okay.
So my first joke that I ever told on stage was about what I wanted the inauguration to look like should a black man win the presidency.
Okay. Can I hear that joke? Yeah.
Well, it was basically like, I just don't want to have a black president and it not be a black experience. We already got Black History Month and we don't get to do nothing.
Yeah.
If we got a black president, I want a black inauguration. I'm talking about Frankie Beverly, Before I Let Go, to be played instead of the national anthem. I want the best fried chicken chefs around the country to be, I'm talking about frying chicken on the stage and making fun of whatever it is, the stereotypes that white people thought that we was never going to be able to get to this position. I want all of those things to be put right in front of their face. We in here now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was pretty much the basis of the joke. And I got off stage, and the guy who was the leader of the open mic at that time, who was like the big name is Chris Wiles, who's a mentor of mine, pulled me to the side and was like, "It's your first time?" He was like, "Man, that was amazing for your first time, man. That's great, man. You should keep going." And at that point, I had already made a decision that that's what I was going to do, but just getting that level of confirmation from somebody who was a professional. And then one thing I always tell people about comedy, you always can tell who's funny from the wait staff. If you ever go to a comedy club, don't ask the owners, don't ask the people, ask the waitresses.
Okay.
The people who work at the club, because they are there every weekend watching these shows.
Yeah.
And they get a different perspective on what comedy is because they watch so much of it. So after Chris told me I was funny, waitress Ghetto, who was my homie, came up to me and was like, "You funny as fuck. You need to come back all the time." And so that was my introduction to comedy. So from that moment on, I've been doing comedy. And then the next month, that next show, I went back like I was Eddie Murphy and bombed. And then, I got my comeuppance in that regard. This is going to take some work, what I mean? You're not just going to be able to get up here and wing it. You're going to have to actually put your effort and time into this. And that's the reason why I stayed in North Carolina, because I knew if I went home to DC, I knew too many people, and too many people knew me. So when people know you for something, it's very difficult for you to be able to get out of that box that they know you for. You know what I mean? Because if they know you for being a certain way, when I come and I know what chasing a dream entails, you know, I have already had that perspective on what it took to make it, to do anything. Because like I said, I've always had responsibility. So I knew if I went home and, you know, people that know me are saying, damn, bro, you broke. And you ain't ate
the
today.
naysayers and all that.
But naysayers who don't know you is different. But when it's somebody who you know is not coming from a place of maliciousness, and they really are concerned, it makes you feel a little different. So I stayed in North Carolina where I didn't know anybody, and I said, I'm gonna make it work here. And it was the best decision I ever made. I think we might be in the game. Hold up.
So how long did you struggle for? I love that you're getting into this.
Oh yeah.
Wait, did the raviolis break?
That's what you want. You want that meat and the sauce. You want certain ones to break open, because you want that meat and the sauce. So even if you don't get a ravioli, that sauce still has the beef in it. So it's like, you know, that's why I put the water in it, so it don't get sticky and stick to the pan. But even when they break up, you want that flavor to get up in there. Yeah, I think we done now.
It looks legit.
Let me move it over to here. We're gonna let that just marinate a little bit. But what was your question?
Make sure you turn off that stove, man.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to leave at 85, not the way I found it.
There we go. It's off now. There we go.
So how long did you struggle for?
Man, struggle. You mean financially? Financially from 2008 to about 2016. So 8
years. And then during that struggle, how bad was it on you mindset and emotionally? Like how much questioning did you do?
I never questioned whether or not I was doing the right thing. I always questioned whether or not I was doing it the right way. But how bad it got for me, I wouldn't even check my mailbox because I knew it wasn't nothing in there. I had so much mail in my mailbox, they thought I moved.
Why? Because you thought it was just bills or something?
Thought. That's all it was.
I never understand that, because like I used to hang out with some guys that couldn't afford their bills, and I'd be like, yo, you not opening it and not dealing with it doesn't make it go away.
Yeah, but it makes me not have to look at what I'm not having at the moment. You'll get it when I get it. When I get it, I get back with all of y'all. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, the reality of it was I knew that, you know, my responsibility, the way that I've been taught and raised, the reason why I didn't want to look at it or didn't want to put myself in that position is because I know how to get money. Like I know how to go and do something that's going to garner me some type of financial gain. Yeah. But I don't want to look at something that I know I don't have and force myself into thinking that this is the only way I'm going to be it. Because like you said, it's not going to go away.
Yeah, it's not.
Whether I pay it today or in 10 years, I'm still going to have to deal with this. So I'd rather continue my journey and find my way and deal with it when I can deal with it the right way. And that was the best decision, because even once I got on TV in 2013. So I didn't start making money to where I was able to get ahead of.
What was your first move on TV? Was it Wildin' Out?
Yes, it was.
In 2013.
That's when we got on TV.
And then you started 2008. So okay.
So it took me from 2008 to 2013.
And you still wasn't like financially?
No.
Damn.
No. And when I say 2016, I just took the struggle away. I wasn't struggling once 2016 came, but I still stayed in my college apartment. Okay. From 2013 to 2017. So I was stacking money up because I was still paying the same amount of rent that I was paying when I was broke.
Smart.
So I was able to get ahead of the bills that I owed in that space. But then once 2017 came, I was able to start to get all of the debt that I owed diminished.
Did your mind play any tricks on you? Because at this point you're getting what I would say is like the accolades, but maybe the financials aren't matching it. Did your mind mess with you a little bit on that?
No.
Or your ego or something?
No. That's where I'm blessed, because in those times where I was talking about growing up and having those responsibilities, those are the times where my ego messed with me. When I was missing the bike rides and missing the football games because I had to walk to the Safeway and get the groceries for the house. Oh. And So I learned how to deal with that very early in life. So by the time I got to a grown man and I was following those things, then I don't care what anybody thinks about me. That's, I'm very, very, very selective with whose opinions I let matter in my life. So if you're not one of those people, you can think whatever you want to think about me. That's your right. You have the right to your opinion, just like I have the right not to give a fuck about it. So we even. So by the time I got to chasing this dream, those things didn't bother me at all. What bothered me was feeling like if I would have made a different move here, I might have not had to deal with this at this moment. But, that was just the most difficult process. Outside of that, I didn't have any problems with, perspective of others.
And during this, your mom's still present?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
So can you just take me to how you ended up getting on Wallin' Out?
Yeah, that's a very unique story too. Young lady who I'm sure you might be familiar with, Dolly Bishop.
I love Dolly.
Yeah, that is my baby.
That's my baby.
We went to school together.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we went to Winston-Salem State together. So at this time, and we came up together like
I did not know that. I know you guys are cool because she's mentioned you.
Dolly is like there's nothing that she couldn't ask me for. There's nothing I wouldn't do for her to this day. Like if she was to call me and ask me for anything, there's no situation she can be in where I wouldn't stand by her side.
Yeah. I feel the same way about her.
Simple
I
as
love
that.
her. Yeah.
But she was working with Nick Cannon at the time as his assistant. So we were both eating while broke at that time for
Damn.
Yeah, because she was she was
what year was that?
2008? This was
2009,
10.
Yeah.
So Nick was having a show called The Fresh Faces of Comedy in New York. So Dolly, being an advocate for us, knowing us doing comedy in North Carolina, said that she wanted us to come up to do one of the shows. Myself and a gentleman named B-Dot, who was a person that I started with in North Carolina, who also is a graduate of Winston-Salem State University. And that went up the first week, and I went up the second week to do it. And when I went up the second week, when I walked into the comedy club, the owner of the club was like, all right, man, we don't know who you are, so you can't say the N-word, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. You're going to see if you're funny. Now, at this point, that's what I planned on talking about. So I went outside, and I don't really write jokes. That's not my process. I'll write down the idea, but my creative process is I walk around and talk to myself. That's how I get it. Like, it's just,
But do you still record all your sets?
No.
Oh, have you ever?
Sometimes, but I have a very, very keen memory. That's one of my gifts. I'm able to remember things, especially things that come out of my mind. Once I get it out and I hear it, it's there. I'm able to retain it. So I was outside making up my set, and as I was out there talking to myself, walking around in a circle, Nick came up, and I'm sure, now I know he just thought I was just some crazy nigga outside talking to himself in New York. But I went on stage and did my 10 minutes and killed because my set was about what just happened.
Oh, okay. Oh, brilliant. You're brilliant.
It was literally about what just happened. So, and it was about my day that I had that day leading up until me being on stage. And when I got off stage, Nick was like, man, hey, bro, let me holler at you real quick. And he was like, man, was you just outside making all that up? Because I said something about him walking in, seeing me talking to myself on stage. And he said, was you just making that up outside? I'm like, yeah. He said, man, I'm around some of the best in the game. They can't do what you just did. Keep working.
Wow.
So fast forward the next day, Dahl invites me out to Six Flags with them. And at this point, I'm just a fly on the wall. I mean, I'm nobody at this point in regards to, where I sit now. And, I was out hanging with Dolly, with Nick and everything, and we went up to ride a roller coaster. And this was as close as I'd ever been to fame, that type of fame at least.
Okay.
So I'm watching Nick walk up to ride the roller coaster, and people are going crazy, trying to take pictures, and the lady on the microphone that you use to say take off, and she's like, don't hang over the rails, and it's just trying to calm people down. And I'm looking like, okay, if I make an impact in this game the way I feel like I'm going to and want to, this is what my life will be. Can you deal with this? Can you deal with not being able to ride a roller coaster without people wanting to make noise and running up on you all the time? And I sat and I looked and I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I can do it. I can do it.
Well, so, Nick has it easier compared to, because I remember I did an event with Nick and Mariah once, and never was fazed by some of the stuff that Nick went through. I feel like he is truly a trooper when it comes to that stuff. But seeing what Mariah went through, I said that I hate to say it, but that life sucks, because Mariah was like almost like an animal. Like people just she needed so much protection. Yeah. And I was like, yo, I actually feel bad. Like, can you imagine never going to a grocery store?
Yeah, that's another level, you know.
But Nick's level is cool.
No, I mean, you know, it depends on the environment. You know, there's certain people who, no matter what environment they go to, is going to be that. But there's some people who you can go to certain environments where it won't be that, but if you go to certain places, it's going to be pandemonium. Yeah. So, you know, that was my introduction to, you know, Nick Cannon. Fast forward 2 years later almost, I see a tweet that he's bringing back Wildin' Out. So I immediately called Doll, like, Doll, is this real? She's like, yes, it's real. He's all he been talking about. So I'm like, man, whatever I got to do, man, let me know. Because I had just found out that I was getting laid off from my job. Now, my job that I was working at the time, I was a qualified professional. I work with people with substance abuse issues, autism, all of the different.
I didn't know you had a side job.
Yeah, before I became a comedian full time. Yes.
Okay. And what was your college degree in?
It was in communications, radio, television, with a minor in sociology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the sociology is what I was using to pay the bills up until I was able to make comedy and entertainment my main source of income. But I found out I was getting laid off, so Nick ended up doing an audition in North Carolina because he had a radio show that was nationally syndicated at the time. So it was one of his affiliates in North Carolina, so he just did a thing where he did an audition. So me and my guy Beat Out went up and did the audition, and he tells this story, which is interesting. I didn't even get this perspective. He said when he went in, you know, it was cool and wasn't nobody really laughing, but from his vantage point, he said when I walked into the room, he said I wasn't in there for 10, 15 seconds before the room erupted in laughter. So that was my first audition. And then Nick was like, you know, man, this was just something I was doing just to do, like as a mock thing, but you got to come to the real audition. Okay. So he invited me up to New York to come to the real audition. Now, at this point, I'm like, how in the hell am I going to get to New York? Because I'm broke. You know what I mean? So I took some clothes. I've always been very...
I was going to say, we got to point it out at the end, but your accessories, your style, and everything's crazy.
That's always been something that I've taken pride in. That's my only vice. That's always been my vice, because I started buying my own clothes when I was 13 years old, and I've been doing it ever since, so it's embedded in me. Okay. So I always have nice clothing. So
and jewelry.
Oh, yeah. Well, the jewelry wasn't always nice, but the clothing was always decent. But I took some clothes to Plato's Closet and traded in the clothes to get the plane ticket to go to New York.
Oh, wow.
And when I got to New York, I did the second audition, and I made a joke about the fact that I had to do good enough to come and have to do good again. And then I, you know, killed the audition then, and then at the end they was like, hey, remember that joke you made at the beginning of your audition about having to come do good again? Yeah, well, we're going to need you to fly back up to New York next week. And I'm like, oh, my fucking God.
Did you just, at that point, wasn't Dolly staying in New York? Couldn't you have,
Yeah, I mean, I did stay with
Dolly.
Did
you pull that move? You were like, look,
man. Get to New York, you know what I mean? So I remember going to my rental office, and the lady at the rental office, who, you know, is a lovely lady, still friends to this day, and she tells me how proud she is of me all the time and always jokes about this. You know, she the reason I made it. But I went to her and told her, like, I have a opportunity that can change my life, and I'm gonna have to be late on my rent to make this opportunity happen. But I promise you, just, you know, give me a couple more days, please. If I can just get it to you, you know, I'd be forever in your gratitude. She was like, baby, whatever you got going on, I can see it in your eyes. Go do whatever you need to do. I'll make it work. And I went back up to New York. We did the group audition. And then after the group audition, I waited a couple weeks.
What do you mean a group audition?
Where they had all of the people that they were considering for the show at the time. And I did the group audition. And when I came back home, probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I got a call from Now Evans, who's one of the producers on the show. And he said, yeah, man, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to bring you in the workshop for the show. I was like, damn. He's like, yeah, but welcome to the cast of Wildin' Out. You made it. So some people have to come in and
to do the
workshop.
workshop. Okay.
He was like, you made the cast.
Thank
So
God. And that was a tough one.
yeah, so I got officially laid off January 11th, I believe it was, which was a Friday. That Monday, I flew out to shoot Wild 'N Out. I haven't worked since then.
Wow.
Yeah,
What an incredible story.
Yeah.
Do you and Doll ever look back and joke about?
All the time. All the time, man. All the time. Like, because we came up together. Like, we really literally came up together. Like, our whole experience, our whole growth process, like, to say I'm proud of her is an understatement, you know what I mean? Because, you know, we were having these conversations about what we were going to do and going through those, you know, we were each other's therapists for years when it came to trying to go through all of the ups and downs of entertainment, you know, from both sides of the game, from her being on the other side of the camera and me being on this side of the camera. So, you know, just seeing the growth that we both have been able to experience coming from where we come from and really coming from starting together in the process of making a name for ourselves, man, it's a blessing. You know, I can't even really put into words how proud I am of her, and I know from all of the things that she's done and all of the love and you know, just opportunities that she's garnered me just from believing in me the way that she has throughout the years. There's no doubt in my mind that she's my biggest fan.
Yeah. I think it says a lot too. Whenever I hear someone say they're friends with Dolly, I'm like, yo, you must have some level of integrity, some great level of integrity.
Yeah, that
because I feel like with Doll, there's just so much integrity and loyalty.
But most people don't know who she really is. I know her for real, like for real.
I feel like I know Doll for real.
No, most people
I know
don't.
her. I know her. We have heart to heart.
She's authentic. She's a very authentic.
Let me tell you,
but there's a side of her that most people would be shocked if they saw. I'll just leave it at that.
I believe that. I recently had a conversation with her that actually did shock me, and I kind of felt bad afterwards. Like, you know, like I was shocked. Like I saw a more vulnerable side of her that she shows so much strength that I was actually taken back, and I was like, damn, that's why we got to be nice to the people that we think are so strong. Listen, like people, even like your mom, you know, like
if you knew Doll's background, man, and that's the thing, I know her whole family, like everybody, like, you know.
Oh, you know them.
When I show up, I show up.
Okay.
You know, I'm family. You know what I mean? Like this is it's different with us. Like that's my partner. You know what I mean? Like point blank period. There's nothing that I wouldn't share with her. There's nothing we wouldn't share with each other. We never lied to each other about anything, no matter what it is. So, you know, when I go and, you know, show up to see where she comes from and vice versa, like people would never know our backgrounds when you meet us and have conversations with us. You would never know that we come from the type of environments that we come from, but it'll really shock you. Like people would be 10 times more enamored and shocked with her as a person if they knew where she came from. Yeah.
I'm a little familiar, but not all the way, but I know she came from a lot. But we're gonna go ahead and try this. Yeah, we're gonna have to test your seasoning skills.
I'm gonna put one in here, and I'm gonna put one in here because I don't think they got any type of antacids or anything for us here.
What'd you say?
Antacids. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna try and avoid as much of the beef because I am allergic.
Me too. I'm gonna
get the tip.
Yeah, pause. I'm not gonna get the tip of nothing, but I'm gonna get a little bit of this noodle here.
All right, I got the noodle. Cheers.
All right. Cheers. Yep. You'll taste the same.
Yeah. Even with the seasoning. I'm sorry.
Still Chef Boyardee.
It's crazy. I used to, like, when I would go to the grocery store with my parents, I used to, like, pray. I would never really ask because, you know, my parents would tell you can ask, but they'd always say the answer no. It just gets annoying after a while. But I used to always pray they would put, like, Chef Boyardee in the basket. I used to think this was, like, filet mignon back in the day.
It was back in the day, but now.
But now I'm like, yo, what was I thinking?
Oh, yeah. I got that paste to leave a film in your mouth.
What are some things that you learned about the industry after coming that were tough lessons?
Man, tough lessons. Integrity is far and few between, but people pretending to have integrity is everywhere you go. So when you meet somebody who is able to where everybody wears masks, just in general. Everybody does in some way, shape, or form. But it's very difficult to deal with the things that come with this industry when people got on 2 and 3 and 4 masks, and you think that, somebody, then they take a mask off and you realize they're not who they are. Then they be like, well, I was just wearing that one just to be in this environment. Then you see them take another one off, and it's integrity is very, very far and few between, real integrity.
Yeah.
Another hard lesson that I've learned is every opportunity doesn't come with a check attached to it. Some opportunity is just opportunity, and you have to be able to accept opportunity without being given any compensation for it to really gain what is really there for you to be compensated for it in the long run. So there have been, and this not after coming into the industry, but prior to coming to the industry, there were a lot of opportunities that I turned down because I needed money so bad and there was no money there that would have taught me certain lessons that I learned after getting money that would have saved me some money, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. What I've learned, even just being here the last couple of weeks, is that everyone that has been on this set, like, they are every corner, they're looking for a window of opportunity, and they are maximizing on it. And a lot of the opportunities I've heard sitting here this last week, a lot of them were not tied to a check. Yeah. But it definitely was a pivotal moment that led to that check. Wasn't right around the corner either.
No.
That's why I'm always curious about, like, what the mindset is when you're going through that. I know me personally, I'm always backing my forward. Like, am I doing the right thing? Is this going to be my last run? Is this almost up? What's my next game plan? What's my next move? But, it's great when you love what you do. I love hearing people's stories. Like, I love this stuff. Like, I literally am like, I could do this all day for the rest of my life.
What made you start to do this? Why this, of all things?
Because I love me a broke guy. But a lot of my friends...
Time out now.
I love me a broke guy. I'm just saying past tense me. Past tense me. Past tense.
You better say that. You better say that.
Let me say that right now.
Past tense.
Past tense. I'm going to say this.
I'm telling you, this is a nigga eating some ravioli right now that just dropped the bowl. Like, nigga, I knew she was mine.
So I used to love me a broke guy. And I started, but I also noticed that I had these, like, 2 different worlds I was in. I was constantly in the world of, by accident or whatever, like, I had Nick Cannon as a business partner for 10 plus years, or I'd always be in these environments where somebody in my life was extreme levels of success, and being around them, their thought process more aligned with mine. But growing up where I'm from, I'm more comfortable over here in Brokeland. And one of my homies used to, when I went through a breakup, because, some guys are more insecure than others, they'd be like, man, you can't hang out with this rich guy and I'm over here and we don't like you doing that. So during one of my breakups, I was like, you know what, fuck that. I'm gonna hang out with whoever the fuck I want, my real friends, which were successful people. But, I was constantly in between both worlds. So I started spending more time with my successful friends, and they would tell me these amazing stories on, like, who they were to get to where they're at. And at the time I was going through a breakup, and one of my homies, Daystorm Power, shout out to him, he always told these stories about, like, how he was an escort, he went to jail, he did this, he did that, he did this, enter, da-da-da. And then, like, someone else that was successful chime in and they tell their story, and I'd be like, man, these stories are so fascinating, I could listen to them forever. And I love mentorship, and so the stars aligned, and I was thinking about the process, and the pandemic hit. True story. Dolly plays ironically weird role in my story, but Dolly and I, we worked with Nick together, and we both checked out, I'd say, a couple of years within, growing up in the industry and seeing men go broke, seeing men have their kids sleep on floors, live in closets. You exposed to so much craziness in LA, and being in the industry, you'd be like, man, is this gonna be my life? Especially as a young person, you'd be like, man, this dude's broke and he's 10 years older than me. He got his wife and his kids sleeping in the car, and he still, what's he doing it for? The groupies, So I was starting to get traumatized by, like, some of the brokenness I saw, and I was like, man, I was telling Nick, like, Nick, I should make it when I'm 24. I should be a billionaire. And he's like, don't worry about that. Like, a lot of this stuff is fake. But anyways, hanging out with my friends, I started to realize, like, different mindsets, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what, maybe I just belong here, and this is who I'm comfortable with. Like, I'm comfortable with my broke friends, but now I'm like, I'm also comfortable with my rich friends because the mindset currently is more aligned than these over here. But anyways, long story short, the pandemic happened. My current business tanks. It was a corporate events company. And I'm like, yo, I want to do this. So I pitched my friends. Of course, all the celebrity friends, like, you got to do it. You don't have a choice. And they're like, girl, you ain't never done nothing in front of the camera, and you don't have no production values, whatever. And I was out the game for 10 years. So I was like, Dolly, you have more celebrity relationships than me at this point. So you got to be my partner. You don't have a choice. You're going to be my partner because I need your Rolodex, whatever. And fast forward, she becomes the president of Black Effect. Fast forward, they need a cooking show. Fast forward, my baby that I had been working on during the pandemic, she calls me. She's like, you're going to murder me. I'm like, why? And she's like, I had this call with ICM, iHeart, and everybody, and they need a cooking show. So I pitched this show. And I was like, okay, why would I kill you? You know? And she's like, Charlamagne wants it, like, now. And I was like, oh, why would I kill you? Like, girl, we broke the table sitting here in my garage. My neighbors are driving by, like, what are you doing this time? You know? And so I was like, I really didn't have a functioning plan outside of building this concept. But luckily, I was already working on it. So when Char wanted the show, all I had to do was press send. Everything was pretty much done at that point.
I'm going to give you how I did it. I just thought of, you just said you love you a broke man in past tense.
No, past tense.
You need to get some of them niggas to come on here and make some of them meals that had you sleeping in the house with them. We need to know what that
bro.
nigga.
I'm never going back to broke.
I'm not. You don't have to go back, but I know what really kept you over there, because broke niggas fuck different. Broke niggas are going, boy, that grilled cheese gonna taste good to the motherfucker after I finish getting myself in this lease right here. I'm about to fuck my way right onto this lease.
They having sex for a different reason.
You goddamn right.
They need a place to stay. They need a roof. They need
boy. You ain't never seen a nigga legs not get tired the way a broke nigga legs don't get tired when he needs somewhere to sleep at night, baby. That nigga will fuck his way out of a jam gun. I'm telling you.
My homies used to clown me all the time. They'd be like, I don't get it. But then I'll tell you this, a lot of my successful homies would be like, I would never date a girl like you.
No, well, whatever. I used to be that nigga, and I know I can fuck my way out of a jam gun. If I needed somewhere to stay, trust me, I'm going to have somewhere to stay. Thank God he didn't put me in that position, but should I have been the young nigga that I was at a certain point trying to make this happen? Whoa, boy. I'd have been in love in 3 states. Wherever I was getting booked at, my wife is there.
You're hilarious.
But, man, it is what it is. But, luckily, God didn't see that as my, trajectory. And the thing that I say now to anybody that may be watching that may be broke, coming from somebody who was and came through that, the thing that keeps me humble, if you will. I hate that word because it's so overused now, but the thing that makes me recognize what blessings are and how, progression work. To me, the life that we live is all about perception, how you perceive things. I'm looking at you now. You'll never see what I see when I look at you. I'll never see what you see when you look at me. We only have 2 eyes that we get in this lifetime. So how you see things will shape your life. And for me, what keeps me in pocket is knowing that today, the problems that I have, the issues that I have at this point in my life would have been the solution to every one of my problems now, would have solved every problem I had when I wasn't checking my mailbox. The things that I might,
Wait, say that slower for me.
The things that are problems or issues that may aggravate me in my life now. For example, I just had to pay $6,000 for flights for my team. 10 years ago, $6,000, I might have did something to you for $6,000 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I might have did something to you for 6 G's. So it puts it in perspective. The things that God puts into your life is just a moment if you can work through it. Because like I said, me having to worry about the things that I'm having to worry about now, I have to recognize that I'm blessed to be able to deal with things, because money isn't anything but a cushion. It doesn't stop problems.
Yeah.
Instead of when you got money, now when you fall down, you don't fall down and break your leg and scrape your knee and your face scratched up. Now you just, boom, you bounce back up. But that don't stop you from falling.
Yeah.
That don't stop you from having to go through the problems in life, but it's all perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If your perspective, if you're still in the perspective that you were in no matter how much money you got, you'll always be broke. But if you have a grandiose perspective, no matter how much money you don't have, you're rich. It's just you ain't got the money yet.
Yeah.
You know what I
agree.
mean?
I like that. I've been learning recently too, and I've been saying this to myself a lot more, is life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So like even with negatives, I'll be like, yo. But now I live by the Serenity Prayer, which I don't memorize any prayers, but that's the only prayer I say 100 times a day.
And what is that?
It's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know
recognize the difference. Yep.
I say that. I promise you, it'll be 2 a.m. I wake up. I promise you, I'm saying that prayer. It'll be 3 a.m. It could be walking the dog. It could be talking. It doesn't matter if I'm faced with a challenge or not, or I'm having a good time. That's the only prayer I say to myself at least 100 times a day.
Yeah, I'm working on a book right now called The Bright Side of Bullshit. And it's basically that like perspective, always being able to find the silver lining no matter what the situation is. My mother passed away in 2021 from COVID. I lost my mom, which was the most devastating hit that I could have took in life at that point. I thought that I was immune to death because I had dealt with so much of it, but nothing prepared me for my mother. But in finding the bright side of bullshit, I realized that although it was tough for me to have to rub her back while she passed away and watch her leave here, what it did to me isn't anywhere in comparison to what it would have did to her had she had to do it for me. And there was a time in my life when that could have really been a realistic possibility for my mother from the way I was living and the things that I was into. So as tough as it is for me to have to say goodbye to my mother, that's the way the circle of life goes. And her dream came true because she left here before her children did. And that's the way it's supposed to go. So being able to find the bright side of bullshit is something that, I'm very stoic in my mentality in a lot of things. Amor fati is one of my favorite sayings. It's just love your fate because, I truly believe that God is real. I believe in a higher power. I'm not religious at all, but I'm very spiritual, and I believe that whatever your journey is has already been planned out for you. You just got to walk it. So there's nothing that you can do to change it. The only thing that you can do is have a perspective that is strong enough for you to understand that you can't change it and embrace whatever comes with it. And because one day is going to be your last day on this planet with everybody that you love. So if that's the case, what do you want to be remembered by? Do you want to be remembered by all the things that you complained about, all the things you help people not complain about?
Damn. Are you crying? Oh,
Did I make her cry?
Look at Joe.
Yeah. Come have some ravioli, baby. It'll make you smile. It got seasoning on it.
You got deep real fast.
It got seasoning on it. But no, this is, I have to have these types of perspectives because people look at your life and then they have this vantage point that everything is grandiose once you get some money. Now, I don't want to make it seem like getting some money is a bad thing because it's a blessing. We all know, all of us, I'm looking over at Joe. We didn't all came in like, we need that little 500, you know what I mean? But, so it's a blessing to not have to have those problems, but there's no such thing as not having problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Problems are going to come. You know what I mean? Like, your problems are your problems, but when your problems turn into issues, that's when you got a problem. And I mean, like, you can stop yourself from getting to the extreme. You know what I mean? Like I watch a lot of affirmations on the daily, and one of the things that it's a dude named Dr. Joe Spinza that I listen to a lot, and he says, how many possibilities are in the unknown? Are there in the unknown? How many? It's infinite.
Yeah.
So why do we immediately go to the most fucked up one and let that drive us? You know what I mean? You have the ability to control your mind. Like, that's something that I truly believe in. Like, the most consistent thing that'll happen to you in your life is your brain gonna talk inside your brain. While we're having this conversation right now, our brains is talking inside our brains. So that's what you gotta navigate. When the lights turn off and it's just you and that mind of yours, that's your life.
Yeah.
So learn how to navigate and manage that. And, the better you're able to do that, the better you'll be able to deal with all of the external things that come that you can't control.
Yeah. I did, shout out to Sheldon, but I did this landmark thing, and one of the things that I learned, I walked away with, is like, it's really the story we tell ourselves that matter. Like, everything outside, like you said, with perspective, is just like, well, what is the story I'm telling myself in here? Or what is this invisible story I'm telling myself that may or may not be true? But controlling the mind is very, 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 very difficult. I that's why, hence, I'm in the Serenity Prayer stage of my life.
But there's no such thing as a bad thought. There's also only such thing as bad actions and speaking negativity. I think all types of wild shit all day. I mean, you think about some of the shit that pop in your mind throughout the day. You be like, man, fucked up ass thought I got.
Let me tell you what I first
But it's not until you let it drive your actions and your mentality that it becomes negative. There's no such thing as a negative thought. There's negative action.
Yeah.
And if you speak negativity, then, that's action. Speaking is an action. So until you speak some negative shit, there's no such thing as a negative thought in my mind.
Yeah. Well, when I first became Christian, I'm raised Jewish, but I became Christian at like 30. I will say, when you're born again, you're like religiously like, oh, snap, trying to control everything. I was like, yo, my brain is really messed up.
Yeah.
Like, my thoughts are terrible.
I respect the religion. The religion, boy, ooh, you are a gangster, man. That is a gangster perspective to have. You know what I mean? No matter which one you choose, I respect. I saw a post on Instagram that said, what is the most normalized addiction? And I said it's religion. Because when you think about it, religion has normalized behavior in the name of a higher power that nobody has ever talked to. But the books that are written, the texts that are written are interpreted by the same people that we look at and walking around every single day. So you think about human error and just power, how that works, you know what I mean? Like a lot of those texts have been tampered with, if you will.
Course, yeah.
So people utilizing that as a way to judge other people for where you gonna go. I never understood how somebody can be like, you going to hell. Like, when the last time you went?
Bruh.
How you know? How you know when somebody's going?
I'm
so
telling you, yeah,
I think
I
it's,
agree.
and I just, my perspective, like I said, I'm not religious, but I respect all religions. I've read the Torah, I've read the Bible, I've read the Quran.
You've read all of them
not
totality?
Not in totality,
Okay,
but
okay.
I've read them. You know what I mean? And one of the things that is consistent is God. There's one God, and everybody is trying to get to that one place. So for me, I always look at it as religion is the temp agency. God is the Fortune 500 company, and people try to get you to convert and, feel the way that they feel. But my thing is, if I'm such a viable candidate, why can't I walk my application directly to the Fortune 500 company? What's the difference between a pastor and me? Because God said in all of the text that we are created in his image. So I should be able to have the same type of direct contact with this person, entity, or thing that we can't see as the man who you trust to lead you into eternity is. So, that's my personal perspective, but, I respect all religions enough to know that, it's tough when you switch. So salute to you, because that was a gangster move you made, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, all the Jews in my family was pissed.
For real?
Oh yeah, and it was weird because they were like, "Yo, Dad, you married a Jamaican. You eating pork over there? Like, what are we even arguing about? Since when does Judaism even matter until I make a switch?"
Because what you mean, Jesus? You stop playing with us over here. You know what I mean? It's a different game, man. You know what I mean? But I respect. Has that been beneficial to you, the switch?
Yeah, no, I mean, I got to see a lot of the hypocrisies in both. But I used to think that everyone was born with a moral compass. More recently, I'm realizing that not everyone is born with a moral compass, but I thought we were all born with a moral compass. But meet a couple broke niggas, you realize that not everyone has.
Man, listen, these broke niggas have ruined you. Got you in here eating ravioli and canned salmon and shit. You stuck. Listen, man. Hey, broke guys, listen. Take this as a lesson. As much as she don't want to fuck with broke dudes no more, she still got broke dude taste buds. Because if you fuck right, you'll never be able to get that taste out of her mouth. That's where we're gonna leave it at that.
Man, I hope they edit all this out.
Yeah, they gonna edit it out, but it's okay. It's love. I don't want none of them that's watching this be like, yeah, I knew I had a shot back at her. All I gotta do is make that grilled cheese with the bacon on top. She'll be right back over here.
To the no. Now I'm one of those women. I'm like the little clips you see online where the woman's like, if a dude isn't making that much, I'm like, yo, if you ain't even matching what I got and more, we not doing it. I mean, all the way down to assets.
Really?
Yep. That's where I'm at now.
I mean, hey, ain't nothing wrong with it now.
Just at least
you have served your duty to the community, ma'am. You got me in here cooking ravioli. You have done your due diligence.
I've done
your bid. You have given. I hope that one of them. I hope at least one. Do you have one success story? There got to be one of all of the broke niggas that you dealt with. There got to be one that made it.
That made it.
That made it to being successful. Isn't that you none?
Let me tell you, it's so sad because, yeah, none. I'm sorry.
Damn.
None.
Your track record is horrible.
It's sad because I've mentored so many people in my life, but yeah, I don't know. I'm
Boy, it's a nigga with a job at UPS supervisor right now. Like, hey, I digress. You got me fucked up, ma'am. I make $76,000 a year now, and I was making your money when I was fucking with you. So, hey, man, if you send a letter in to Eating While Broke, fellas. Anonymous letter.
Do not
send an anonymous letter in and let this lovely lady know that you're successful now.
It's so hard to date me at this point. It's impossible.
What makes it hard to date you? That's a very vague statement.
I do full reference checks now. I need numbers to exes. The same way you go to a job and you have your references, I'm gonna be like, look, give me the numbers to your exes. Let's have a conversation. Because I give out my numbers to my exes. They gonna say, yo, my only regret was fucking up. I promise.
No, the fuck they not.
Yes, they will.
Hey,
I'll give you their number right now. You call
my only regret is not making sure that she didn't get to go around some niggas that made her realize she had regrets. That's the only. What? I should have kept her in the house eating ravioli and grilled cheese, and she'd have never knew it was nothing better.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them, if you talk to some of them, they'll be like, I knew I should try to get you pregnant. Because, that's every guy's go-to trap.
Really?
Yeah, I don't trust none of y'all.
Man, that's crazy. I don't know where
they be trying to trap you.
I don't know where you was dating. You must have been dating in Def Jam Vendetta. That was crazy.
Oh my God. You having so much fun with this.
I mean, it's interesting to me. It's very interesting to me to hear that because I know it's true.
They try to trap you. They need roofs. They need credits. They need cosign. You got to think, if you come up on somebody, you broke.
But that's ignorance, and mind you, I speak from the perspective of I always say it's our fault. Don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming the woman. It's always the man's fault. I'm one of the ones that believe that.
Because they be perpetrating.
But the reality is, it's your fault though. It's your fault. It's your fault as a woman, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't know how real we can get on Eating While Broke, but these are the conversations you should have been having with them niggas.
I love hearing 85 Southland.
Here's the thing that I say why I say it's your fault is in this.
Please do.
This is this is adult content. So what I mean, this is the reality. Mm-hmm. You are a woman, which means you have the prize, which is
I agree with all this.
The pussy. Pussy is valuable. It's one of the three things that can be sold anywhere on earth. Guns, gold, and vagina will sell anywhere air is being breathed. Okay. There has never been a man anywhere that's been down to his last dollar and said, you know what, I'm about to start selling some dick. That's never happened. That's never happened. So with that being said, if you have the asset that is valuable, you are in control of what you allow to be the key that opens the lock.
I agree with this.
So therefore, if you continue to allow yourself to be tricked by baller costumes, then that is your fault.
What the heck are we? Okay.
Baller costumes. You don't know what a baller costume is? They wear them all year round. You see this? All of this?
Oh, okay.
All of this, it came from hard work. But I can give this same watch, the same ring, the same bracelet to somebody who has nothing. And they'll be able to get you because they have this. And you assume that because they are wearing this, that they are all of the things that comes with the shininess. And that's your fault because you don't ask the right questions. What you say you do now, I commend you because that's what you're supposed to do. And I say the same thing to men. We got to do better because y'all got a whole list of, you just said you checking references. Every man out here, you know what's on our list? Pussy. That's it. We ain't updated our list since the beginning of time. That's all we have on our list. That's hilarious. It. So therefore, we got to ask better questions too. I say that to men all the time. You got to treat your dick like you treat your social security number. If a woman walks up and asks you for your social, you're going to be like, what type of question is that, man? Get the fuck out of here. She walk up and ask you for some dick, you're going to be like, you serious? You for real? Give me 20 minutes. Let me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I agree
with that.
We don't even ask the type of questions that we should ask as men that would place value in who we are.
I'm curious though, what kind of questions now that we here? I know we going over, guys, but
It's all good. You know what I mean? You want to know what type of questions that a man should ask? What is your gynecologist's name?
Okay, that's a good one. Okay.
If she can't answer that like it's on the back of her driver's license, then that means she probably don't have no health insurance. So you mean to tell me, ma'am, I'm supposed to be working hard for some vagina you ain't even had inspected?
Wow. Okay. That's the go-to
What's
question.
the last book that you read from cover to cover?
Okay, that's a good one. That's a better one than the gynecologist, but okay.
I mean, no, it's not, because most women can't name their gynecologist because they don't have one.
Okay. All right, and then what's the next question?
Oh, it's plenty of them. Let me think of a good one that a man should ask a woman. I don't want to get too in depth on the cooking while broke.
But how does that impact a man? Because usually men don't get really played like that.
What you mean played?
Like, because you're like, why would a man benefit from that if all he seeks is vagina?
Well, that's a man that's asking those questions is not a man who only seeks vagina.
Okay.
Because a man who only seeks vagina is not even asking you nothing. He just acting like he want to hear what you saying. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And then so he could clone and be whatever you want him to be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's all it is.
Take games, ladies.
You know what I'm
Take
saying?
games.
So a man that's asking certain questions. And mind you, I have a daughter who I'm raising. So I have to give her the cheat codes. Like I hear women complain all the time about broke niggas and shit that niggas do, and I be like, well, what questions are you asking these niggas? Because it's very easy to find out if a man is a liar. You just got to be out of your comfort zone to be able to find out quicker than you have found out already. Stop asking the niggas, so what are your goals in 5 years, and what are your plans for the future, and what is all that? Fuck all that, man. How many times a week do you beat your dick, sir? You see how the whole room stopped? Now, if you ask a man that and he like, well, what you mean? Why you ask me that? But that's a nigga who's thinking about what he's going to tell you. A man who's being forthcoming and truthful will say, well, shit, as much as I can.
As much as I can.
Now you know you're dealing with somebody who at least has the capacity to be able to have a direct conversation without filtering whatever it is he's going to say to you. Also, another question, what is your relationship like with your mother?
Yeah. I mean, you could go on that all day, but there's some, You know what I mean? And another one you can ask, man, if we were in a relationship with each other and I had a contract that said you owe me every dime you make from the moment you cheat on me to the rest of your life, would you sign it? Yeah, right there. That should be the question all women should ask before they get married.
And if a nigga say, I never do that shit, get up and leave.
Oh,
get up and leave. Take it from me, lady. If a nigga say he'll sign that contract, that nigga's a serial killer. Get up and leave.
That's crazy.
No man in his right mind would ever agree to them terms.
This is why I fall for the BS, because I would have, if he would have said, what? I would have been like, oh, he said you could sign it.
That's how you end up eating sardines, sitting Indian style.
That is crazy.
In a studio apartment.
That's a perfect example.
There you go.
Amen to you. That was a perfect example. I can't believe I would have fallen for the okie doke.
Yeah,
that's how I end up with these broke ass niggas. Yeah, answer the question correctly.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the lesson. Where can everybody keep up with Chico?
Keep up with me on Instagram at Chico Bean, Facebook at Chico Bean. Follow the 85 South Show and all of the things that our company and our team is entailing. We have a conglomerate we're building over here. Check us out on the Black Effect Podcast Network. Salute to Charlamagne, salute to Dolly. Keep an eye out. We on tour right now. We them ones. We going right after that tour ends. We starting the 85 South back up. We got a lot of beautiful things we got coming.
What about the book?
Oh, that's coming. I'm working on it now. So hopefully, I'm thinking either by the end of the year or the top of next year, we should be able to do it. And Charlamagne already said he was going to look out for me and put me in place with some people that can.
Does he have a publishing company?
Yeah. So I've already done the due diligence, if you will. So
nice.
I'm looking forward to getting that out to the people so they can have this type of dialogue that we're having amongst each other.
Teachers. And then my last question: what's the last book you read from cover to back?
What's the last book I read from cover to back? The last book I read, I just reread a book that changed my life. Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. I just went through a situation that was very, very, very trying on me personally. And I had to, whenever I get to those points where I feel myself about to revert to a mentality that I feel like I have surpassed, I always go back and read that book because that book saved my life.
I've heard people mention that book. I actually have it on a list.
Read
book,
it.
Yeah.
Conversations with God by
Neil
Neil Donald Walsh.
Yep.
That is like
That's crazy because that book is on my list.
That book saved my life. If it wasn't for that book, my OG Uncle Jay, God bless you, Uncle Jay, if you see this, when my uncle got murdered, my uncle that I told you about, I probably would say that was the darkest week of my life. Like that week after he was murdered, was a very dark time for me, you know what I mean? And a lot of the actions and things that I did during that time, I'm still rectifying now. And I was sitting outside and, in the worst way that you can probably be out in public if when I think back on it. And he came outside, he saw me. This is somebody I have a high level of respect for, one of my big homies. And he took what I had from me, away from me, went in the house, came back out with the book and told me to go in the house and start reading. And under those circumstances, normally I'd have been like, man, get the fuck out of here, man, I'm out here. But something told me to go in the house and start reading, and when I did, it saved my life. So
I'm gonna check it out.
Please.
I will.
Yeah,
I had it on my list, so it's crazy that you brought it up.
Yeah.
So I'll check it out.
Another good one is The Way of the Superior Man. You should read that.
I heard about that book.
Yeah, you should read that.
Women should read it too?
Yes. Women should read. That's the thing. I think men should read the books that women read, and women should read the books that men read, in regards to not necessarily that men or women read, but that are catered towards men. Women should read those books. And the books that are catered towards women, men should read those books, because it gives you insight into the perspective that you probably wouldn't get in a general dialogue with the opposite sex.
Okay. You dropping gems. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man.
Thanks for opening up the 85 South home this last episode, everyone. Woo,
I know. I took that one bite out that ravioli. Now my doo-doo gonna sound like a Russian nigga. Frugadush, frugadush, frugadush.
And thanks for